And boom, we are live for the weekly Redroom with Luke. It is the third Tuesday of the month. We had a little conversation. We are doing the local RIA events. So we on some of those days, little hectic trying to get the third Tuesday
Oh
of
yeah.
the month with the RIA events. We may not be able to get on these podcasts because these are at 2. That thing starts at 4. There's a lot of preparation that goes into that. So on the RIA events, we may not be able to get here, but if we have time, we will, based on that. But today we're going to talk about rate buy downs and what those look like and describe them a little bit, just so you guys can all understand them a little bit. If you're a mortgage broker or banker, or loan officer, you probably know it. But we're going to if you're an agent or an investor, understanding the buy down might help. Interest rates obviously are touching 7,
Oh yeah.
because the 10-year went from like 3.5 to 4. I think I looked this morning and it was like 3.96. So call it 4. Um, yeah, 3.92 as of just now. So,
Nice.
so, um, so interestingly enough, that hasn't really affected our market that much. We are at 14,800 actives for good old the MLS. Um, we kind of started the year off at almost 17,000. We moved ourselves down into 15,000, and I could say this is the first week. I'm going to say we're in the 14,000 now. That's 14,800 actives, but stuff's moving. I mean, I think if
Yeah, it
and
sure is.
so stuff's moving, and even though the interest rates have gone up a half a point, it hasn't seemed to slow the market down yet. So,
Chris,
what
do
do you?
you think do you think part of that is because a lot of these people were locked in, 30 days, 45 days ago?
Yeah, they that's probably true. They went to their loan officer, or they got their mortgage rate. Um, they were locked in. I was actually supposed to close a mortgage last Friday, and I paid $420 for a lock extension to
Okay.
keep my 6.125
Yeah.
on my rental property.
Yep. I hear you.
So I think that $420 was well worth it, because I'm sure if I were to go get a rental property quote right now, it would have a 7 in front of it.
There's no doubt about it. No doubt
So
about it.
and then with that, I'm going to close. I'm going to refi. I sign as soon as I leave this meeting. I'm going to refi at 6.125, and I'm selling it on a seller carry and close it Monday at 8%. So I'll basically be making,
Oh, there we
um,
go.
yeah, I'll be making, call it 1.8% on basically $300,000. Plus, I'll have some money in it myself, 30 grand. So I'll be making the full 8% on that, 30 grand. So it'll be a nice little cash flow deal that
Heck yeah.
I'll write it down. I'll kind of put it on the numbers on a spreadsheet or something, and share it next week once everything's closed. I like
Yeah.
to share it after it's closed.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally get that. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in seeing that though. I'd like to see how you put it together.
All right. So, as the is, and it's going to change. It's going to be, it's going to slow. I mean, everybody's just kind of wondering what's happening, right? We obviously saw rates dip, um, probably into the 6s and high 5s to start this year, and everybody got out
Mm-hmm.
there and started buying houses. Um, we don't know what the 7% rate is going to bring. How's your on your new inventory recently? Like, call it the
The
last
last
week, 10 days. Have you seen any drop off?
the last one that we listed was it was right around there. It was right about 10 days ago. We had it was on the market for 2 days. Day two, we received an offer that was basically the agent said, my client wants it. They want the property more than anything. They came in. They said the agent said, asked our agent, how's it? How are we going to be able to get the deal? We told them it's got to be at least full price. It's got to be as is sale. It's got to be as quick a close as possible, and you got to use our title company. So they came in, they matched all those terms. So I mean, they just did their inspection. Inspection came back clean. So and obviously it was an as is sale. So we're just waiting for the appraisal now. And if that appraisal comes back, then we're going to close in I think it's going to be like 2 weeks. So it'll be right around like a 3.5 week close.
I don't know.
That was the
So
last one that we listed.
yeah. So I mean, definitely watching the pendings and the UCBs coming up, I think will be a big deal.
For sure.
So just pay attention to it.
We'll see that because we're about to list two in the next, probably in the next 3 days. So when we list those two, I'll be very interested to see again if they move quickly.
Yeah. So obviously, the reason for talking about the buy downs is you don't necessarily have to lower your price, right? You might list your house, and seller concessions have been around obviously forever. We didn't see a lot of seller concessions for many years, right? Because the market was so hot. It was like someone came in with a seller concession offer, you just kind of threw it away.
Yeah, exactly.
And we saw prices decrease in the fall, and people said, hey, the market's down 10%, 11%. Well, that wasn't the reality. The reality is it was probably down like closer to 15% because the concessions don't show up, right?
Oh yeah, no, exactly.
The house sells for 400 grand. It doesn't matter that they gave back 3% for closing costs, all that kind of stuff. So same thing can happen here with interest rates ticking up. You don't necessarily have to lower your price. You can do a buy down. So and how a 2-1 buy down works, for instance, is I'm going to use some round numbers. For instance, like let's say the purchase price is 400,000. They're doing their 20% down, so their loan amount's 320. But right now, let's just say their interest rate would be 7. I'm just going to use a round number, right? It's going to be 7%. So if they get a 2-1 buy down, and so you could do seller concessions, maybe 4%, 2% to closing costs, and maybe you do 2% to the buy down. And actually, what's interesting about a buy down is it's an actual number. So you take that 2%, and that 2% on the 320, $6,400, it goes into an escrow account. And what that escrow account does is help them pay the mortgage over the next 2 years. It's not like actually buying down the rate. It's just taking the money from the seller because the seller can't give the buyer cash, right? Yeah. So the seller is basically just taking that 2% and sticking it in an escrow account. So in that particular, I did this math before, so don't think I'm that smart. A 320 loan at 7%, your principal and interest is $2,100. So let's just take taxes are $125 a month, and insurance is $100 a month. You probably have you're going to have like a $2,400 or a month payment. Now, basically, the buy down does is it takes that 2% and it sticks it in the escrow account. So it would lower your payment roughly like $400 a month.
Okay.
So, and then the next year it lowers your payment just 1%, right?
So, right.
So that's a way to, like, as interest rates or people are out shopping and their rate just went from maybe, 6 to 6 3/4 or 7 or whatever.
Absolutely.
You can offer, if that's kind of a sticking point for them, to offer them a 2-1 buy down. And what's great about that 2-1 buy down is the money goes into an account, and let's just say they decide to refi it in a year because the interest rates, everybody's seen the, marry the house and date the rate, that kind of thing. So kind of saying, hey, just go ahead and take this 6.5 or 7 now, and then
Yeah,
refinance
exactly.
it if the mortgage rates.
They drop back down to 5 in whatever May or
It's
June or something like that.
yeah. So exactly. So if you get the seller concession now from the seller and it goes into that account, you can actually use that money if you refi it, um, and call it a year.
Mm,
The leftover money is your money. So you can use that money to rebuy down the rate or repay for closing costs
that's kind of cool.
on
I didn't know that.
on the refi. It's just not a seller concession and they're paying the bank to lay it. They're actually, the seller concession is actually going in an escrow account. And if you sell the house in that 2 years, the money actually goes towards the principal of the house, of the principal payoff. So it's not wasted money. So
Right.
just something to think about when you're, they're like maybe hemming and hawing because of the rates right now. Just, you can have your agent go like, oh, maybe we could give them a 2-1 buy down. That
Right,
would
right.
give them a lower interest rate. On that particular example I showed for on 320,000, it's going to save them $400 a month. The money's going into the escrow account. Well, they refi it in a year because maybe your rates are 5.5 next year. Then
Right, exactly.
they refi it, they get that lower interest rate, and the money that's left over in the account goes to either can buy down their rate even more again.
Right.
So
And I mean, that's what we've seen though, is we've seen, the last, gosh, I mean, honestly, probably the last 7 houses that we put under contract now, to sell, they've all asked for concessions, every single one of them. So
yeah,
that's like you said, a year ago, that was the second you saw that, you were like, okay, pass. Like, let me see the next offer. But I mean, that has become, the norm, unfortunately, for the last, not unfortunately, it is what it is, but that's become the norm for the past probably 3-4 months again. And I mean, it's interesting because I mean, do you think, Chris, obviously people typically will say, okay, well, when you're going to have concessions, that means that it's completely switched on over to a buyer's market. But I mean, I don't think that it is a buyer's market yet. I mean, I don't necessarily, I mean, obviously, yes, you're getting the concessions, but at the same time, like we said, we're still getting full price offers on our properties. I mean, we're still having people waive, like I said, having people waiving their inspection and stuff like that. So having them buy as is. So it's definitely a strange time right now.
well, if you just go on pure data, like a flat market is 28,000. The fact that we're down in the 14,000s,
Half, yeah.
even though Goldman Sachs said we're going to be one of the 4 cities that
Yeah.
is going to have a 2008 drop, right? I
Those
mean,
those weren't the cities they're trying to buy in, are they?
so yeah, just some interesting numbers, but like we're down at 14,000 active. So, and it's spring, like people buying the spring. I
Yeah.
definitely think, just pay attention to the market, in the spring, but we are going to have and if you're a real estate agent, you're an investor, whatever you're watching, loan officer, um, we are definitely going to have a typical season cycle. It's spring. Everything's good. Everybody's buying and selling houses,
Mhm.
But come August, guess what?
It always slows down.
It's always slows down. It didn't slow down in 2022 because we just were kind of stretching out of the first 3 to 5 month lockdown of COVID. Interest rates hit, record lows. Everybody's like, "Oh, let's go buy our second home out in Prescott." I mean, how much money did you make on second homes? Come on, come on.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's unfortunate or not. We're about to find out, but we have about 4 cabins that are going to be hitting the market here probably in the next couple months. So I'm hoping and kind of thinking that they're going to be hitting at the right time. So we'll see. But I mean, yeah, like you said, that's definitely when people start looking for that summer home.
Yeah,
Is
but
that
how
springtime?
many northern Arizona properties did you sell just from COVID people going like, let me get a second home? So if I have to
Yeah.
hide out, I'm going to go hide out in the woods,
Right.
right?
No, for sure. For sure. I mean, still obviously a majority of those people are still coming from California. It's even though people said they felt like it slowed down, it's no, you still have people moving left and right from California to Northern Arizona.
Yeah. So, I think, we're going to have a good spring. We're going to have but it's going to cycle down. It'll cycle down.
Yeah.
August, September, it's going to slow down. You see a small uptick in October, early November, and then guess what? You go November, December, and that's kind of the Phoenix cycle, and that's the norm. So don't think that that's that it's been that way for years and years. You just missed it in 2020 and 2021. But that's the normal cycle, and so. I mean, I don't know how many people bought inventory. I know we're wholesaling a decent amount right now. That means, January came, the uptick in the market. A lot of people sold their inventory that they were. And you probably cleared house on, a few of your legacy properties, right?
We did. We got rid of a decent amount of our inventory in January.
Yeah. So that pushed, guys like you and other fix and flippers to. I mean, you don't buy direct guys from me, but
I still do.
You probably started reaching out. You probably stopped lowballing people at 50% on the contracts. You're like, I'll give you 60 this month.
we definitely we definitely had to. We had to come back up a little bit for a while there. We definitely had to stretch. Of course, like you're saying, where it was, you could come in low. You could come in really low because nobody was buying, and if you were buying. You kind of held the cards. So the toughest thing was during that time was kind of when we were also seeing though was when a lot of sellers were just in that holding pattern where they were like, okay, well, I don't really know what's going on right now, so I don't want to sell. If I sell, I'm gonna have to go find something. They got these high interest rates right now. This is not something I'm interested in. So that's shifted again for sure.
Yeah. So
having to be more competitive with our offers.
Yeah, so we talked about the temporary buy down. So you can also just do the simple. I got a quote this morning. I just like to reach out and get data. So I reached out to my local loan officer. Everybody has their own, but I'm like, hey, if I was at a 7% rate right now, what would it cost me? What would a point cost me? And she's like, well, it's not that simple. I'm like, what do you mean it's not that simple? She goes like a 0.91. I'm like, okay, a 0.91. So a point. So, she was like a 0.91 would get you a 0.59 discount. So anyway, round numbers, 1 point will give you 6% off. So once again, if anybody says, well, the rates ticked up, that kind of stuff, as a seller concession, you can pay down their loan 1 point, and that'll move you from your 7 back to your 6.4. So there's a little tool in your toolbox as well. That was this morning. Rates obviously adjust all the time, but right now with my agent, she said a 0.91 will get me a 0.59 discount.
What does that cost?
So a 0.91 on that 320 mortgage that we started out talking about, a 0.91 on a 320 is $3,100.
Okay.
So that should be.
.91. I'm getting it now. Okay. I thought you were saying
so
0.91. Okay.
She was being a stickler with me this morning. I'm like, what does a point get me discount?
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
okay.
My bank is at 0.91 will give you 0.59. So
cool.
Round numbers, a 1 point discount. So $3,200 will get you from that 7 to that 6.4.
And do you have an idea if you were just to guesstimate it, what is that taking off of your payment?
Hold on. Handy dandy calculator right here. So if I did a 0.91 or hold on. So it's, we talked about 2-1 buy down. That'll get you like $400 off.
Okay.
A 0.91 will get you, hold on. So that would be a, interest rate would be a 0.64. So it'd be $2,000 a month. So basically, on the 2-1 buy down, you'd be at like 2,100.
Okay.
At the 2% down, and then when you got to the 1 year, so sorry. At the full 7%, you're at $2,100 a month. At the 2-1 buy down, you're at like $1,700 a month.
Oh
At your 1 point production deduction, it's like 2,000. So on the
Okay.
1%, so you're going to save $150. So
For sure.
it's definitely something that, once again, as interest rates tick up, is these couple little tools that might help you, your agent, and just say, hey, offer will pay a point to their and maybe their agent knows about it, maybe there doesn't.
All right. Right.
Agents are at different levels of education, right?
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about it. There's no doubt about that. You might want to make sure you're with the right agent too, because
Yeah.
obviously, like you said,
So
that can you
Bill,
your agent can
sorry.
definitely ruin a deal for you, or they can help you make a deal. So
Yeah. Bill asked if we've seen any 40-year mortgages. I have not yet seen any 40-year mortgages. He says he seems to think that 8-year car loans are common now. I haven't taken out a mortgage or a loan on a car in a little bit, so I haven't. But it sounds like with car prices, I mean, I kind of feel like pre-COVID car prices were like 50 to 70. Now I feel like car prices are 70 to 100.
absolutely.
So
No, there's no doubt about that. They've gone up drastically.
yeah, so I
Kind of
feel
crazy.
like that. I feel like the 8-year car loans probably for sure around. But I have not seen any 40-year mortgage loans. I am sure there are lenders out there offering them though.
So I recently did a refi. It's a cash out refi. And when I was kind of going through everything, my lender had said he had an option for it for a 40-year loan. That it was a newer kind of program that they were running out, or a newer product that they had kind of brought out. So I personally didn't really look into it, but he did say there was an option for it. So I probably should have checked it out just to see what the what it was looking like, and what it was all about.
Yeah, Dixon threw in the comment. He said there are a number of lenders already offering 40-year non-QM. Non-QM, for those of you that don't understand that, are watching, non-qualified mortgage.
Yeah.
So back to the scenario I did on the seller financing. As a lender, you need to do what's called a qualified mortgage. I was able to do a loan at 8% to my buyer because they didn't qualify. So they were outside the qualified mortgage. So it was a non-QM loan because they didn't qualify. I think they didn't qualify because they were a TIN number. They didn't have a social. So
they gladly take an 8%.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, I'm at least getting a property. I'm getting my property I want. So yeah.
Yeah. And I sold it I listed it at 340. I didn't get 340. I got 330. It's one of my legacy properties that I bought last June. So obviously I paid 280 for it. And, I put 30 in it, and, I got to pay the agent that brought me the deal. So all said and done, I have some carrying costs. I'm kind of just a break even, but I'm also getting some cash flow every month until, they write me a check.
Heck yeah. And then those are you didn't do a no penalty, right? Prepayment penalty at all?
No.
Yep.
If they pay me off in the first 6 months, because I just did refinance it, I'm going to sign the loan docs right now. My mortgage person isn't going to like me very much if they do buy it
I know,
in the next 6 months. But
for sure. How does that work? Do you know? Do they then forfeit? Do they have to pay back the full?
Generally, the loan officer, if it pays off in the first 6 months, gets it deducted from them.
Oof, that's not fun.
Yeah, so
that's not fun.
I'm sure they're not. A TIN number. I'm sure that's the reason they. I'm a loan officer, and I send people that qualify for people I do on my seller carry. I have them get qualified through a loan officer, not myself. But I just, I want to make sure that they don't qualify for a conventional mortgage, because in the state of Arizona, you can only do a seller carry on a property that you've lived in, unless you can prove that they don't qualify for the mortgage. So
interesting.
But if you've lived in it, then you can do a seller carry because it was your primary, and then you can do a seller carry. Otherwise, they want you to. So I just run it through a loan officer. They don't qualify for the standard government loans, and I'm good to go.
Right. No, exactly. Heck yeah.
Any
Nice. I
questions out
like
there
it.
from anybody? We got lots of comments, but any questions from anybody watching?
I'm not seeing these comments. These comments usually stop. Hold on. Haha, that's why. There they are right there.
Did you have it closed?
I had it clicked on private chat.
No.
There they are. There's my man Dixon. Bill, how are you? Heck yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, guys, I'm not on the mortgage side, so that's why I don't talk a whole lot about the mortgage side. That's why I let Chris do the talking on this part. So here we go. Analyst. Heck yeah. No, feel free to come on in, Joe. We're in Arizona. More than welcome to come check out our office and we can kind of show you how we underwrite deals.
Yeah, we're always and I'm actually going to keep I want to keep doing these I'm going to just use my mortgage, and if I can get a 6% mortgage and then I can sell it to my person that doesn't qualify for a 6% mortgage to somebody at an 8% mortgage. I'm not making a bunch of money, but I'm making, I think $400 a month, all said and done.
Hey, you keep adding those puppies up, and guess what?
Yeah.
You notice it after a while, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, $400 a month is $400 a month. I add another one that's $800 a month.
Exactly. That's what I know we've had him on here before, but Eric Sage, he's got a ton of those, and I think the last time he was on with us. I think he said he had like some stupid number of notes like this, and I mean, God, exactly that. Though you start adding up 30, 40, 50, 60 of these where they're making $200 to $400 to $500, $600 each. That adds up very quickly. There's no doubt about it.
It should be a good little, I mean, I'll keep taking that. I want to hopefully add 10 this year. That's kind of my goal. 10 this year, and I'll go. That's $4,000 a month. That's just, that's more cash flow.
Nah, absolutely. No doubt about it. Cash flow is king.
And what's great is I got to expense, I rehabbed it. I expensed all my rehab.
Yeah.
So, I'm making a profit on it, but not a big one, but I'm still cash flowing. I'm pretty much breaking even, but I just created myself with really no money out of my pocket, because the money I put in, call it $30,000 in rehab. So I paid $280. I put $30,000 in rehab. I had to pay carry costs because, once again, I think this carry cost was a little bit longer because I bought it in June and I had to sell it in the worst time of the market in the last 5 years, right? So I had some carrying costs to go along.
Yeah.
During, so really, I sold it for $330 and I got $40,000 down.
Yeah.
So that kind of is a wash on my expenses,
for sure.
But now I get $400 a month for a wash. So
yeah, exactly. Joe, sorry hopping on late. What do you guys think about Goldman Sachs projecting Arizona will have an 08 like crash? Yeah, we hit on it a little bit. I mean, I think it just depends on who you ask. I mean, I know some people, some investors. Chris, I don't know if this is you or not. So I know some investors believe that Goldman kind of said that in certain areas that they're looking to purchase heavily in, maybe scare some people away and start buying up. I don't know. Chris, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the big guys have their own agenda, and how do you expect, Phoenix has 80,000 people move here a year, just like clockwork. And it's not because of anything else, but just the weather. Like,
that's
if you're
80,000, and that's 80,000 that we know about.
Yeah, that's 80,000.
That number is much higher if you were including people that we don't know about.
We're coming across the border, but
yes.
And then the number that I think they've clocked for COVID is, so in the 2 years of COVID, let's just call it, if we're coming up on the 3rd anniversary of COVID. If you didn't know, COVID started March 17th, 2020. It's going to be March 17th, 2023. All the bars got shut down. Everybody on St. Patrick's Day, they're like, you got to shut down the bar at 8 o'clock. That's what they did in Phoenix. So we're coming up on but they say we had 400,000 people move to Phoenix in the COVID years. So call it 2020 to 2022.
Yeah.
That's,
I mean, God.
that's
And the crazy thing is, and it's like people find that hard to believe, but at the same time, if you saw the prices of rentals for the past couple of years, no, you would be like, yeah, that makes sense. I understand, because the rental rates in Arizona went through the roof, I know I've told this story before, but we built a duplex downtown Chandler. This was 2018. We were planning on renting out each side. They're 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Obviously, it's a new build, but we were planning on renting out each side at $1,200 to maybe $1,250. And it took us a while to build it because it was our first one and we were newbies. But by the time we were finished, which I think was 2021. So I think we finished I think we were finished 2021. It's been rented for the last like year and a half now. So 3 years later, from 2018 to 2021, we ended up renting out each side at $2,500. So we were planning on $1,200 to $1,250. We were planning on bringing in a total of $2,400, and we're now getting $2,500 per side.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of, just a little idea of what was going on with the rental market. That was happening everywhere. I mean, that was madness. Phoenix was that way. Northern Arizona was even more so that way, which is why we still have most of our rental properties up in Northern Arizona. There's a huge shortage of housing up there, especially for, close to like people that want to stay in the actual cities and not move to the outskirts. And so with these shortages, I mean, you can get some crazy rental prices.
For you, Arizona, local Maricopa County people watching rentals, there are 5,000 actives on MLS for rentals. And then there's all the different funds, don't use MLS. They put their rentals on different stuff. So rental inventory in the Phoenix market has moved up. So rental rates will soften. I think someone we'll just put an article out on that. So, watch that as, I think your rental rates are going to soften. I think there's going to be a good amount of VRBOs that'll go back to in Maricopa County. I'm not talking your local, Northern Arizona, like where Luke is, but your Maricopa County short-term rentals will move back to, I think some will move back to a longer-term rental just because rental rates are diving because the massive inventory that we have here.
People are going to have to sell them, though, because of what they bought them for. They're going to be underwater on it for what they paid for them.
Yeah.
People are spending $700,000 on these properties, and if they're maybe able to get $3,000 in rent for them, they're going to be negatively cash flowing.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun. But anyway, thanks for everybody for jumping on. We do this for 30 minutes every third Tuesday. If you're watching on either of our YouTube channels, obviously like, subscribe, all those different buttons. If you see us on Facebook, I will watch comments. You can jump on, throw comments on there. I will watch them over the next 24 hours. Same with Luke's Facebook. I'm sure he watches comments. So
absolutely.
Thanks for joining on. We are going to be jumping on with Kevin, Mr. Burr. What is that? Buy, rehab, refinance, repeat. So he's jumping on with us next week, and he's got an interesting strategy where you actually take your money and you put it into insurance money, and then you reborrow it back. And we'll be with him next week. Kind of a different creative finance tool that he's been talking about. If you haven't seen him on Instagram, but join us next week, and we'll be back.
Joe, really quick, you said, where's the office? The office is in Gilbert, Arizona. We do a meetup every third Thursday of the month, so feel free to come then as well. We have a bunch of real estate minded people that come out here. We do drinks, DJ, Chris dances for us. It's awesome.
I'll be there Thursday.
But yeah, if you're interested, just shoot me a message on Instagram or on YouTube or something, and I'll send you over the address.
And just for you guys that don't know, that the third Thursday will be just after St. Patrick's Day, so they'll have time to recover.
Yeah, exactly. It's the day before St. Patty's Day.
It is?
Yeah, so we're getting the party started a day early.
Oh, you're right. The third Thursday is the 16th.
I think there's 5 Thursdays this month.
Yeah, there's only 4, but yeah, you're the 16th. So he's gonna have green beer. Ask him for the green beer.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, see you guys.
All right, we'll see you, Chris.
Later.